Hi there, we're at CrossFit Telic Hartlepool. We're on a judging training day and we're here looking to raise the standard of the judging throughout the day and obviously take this to the competition.
Thank you all for coming. Pretty good turnout. I know not all of you will be able to judge in May, but you might be able to judge in June, July, other events that we're having this year. And also you may know other people that we can recruit. One of the things we always bang on about it though, like I know loads of you compete, but without judges there's no comps, and we're just stuck in this situation where we need as many judges, and not just people to stand there and fill a space. We need good judges who know what they're doing. So like you guys coming here and learning a little bit more, that's an opportunity for us to raise the standard of judges. But if you know other people who are tempted by it, who are keen to do it, try and get them to kind of come along, even if they shadow. Like we've talked about it a few times, and some of you might have done it at comps where you shadow someone who's a more experienced judge, you learn a bit from them, and then you kind of work your way through, and then once you're confident, you step through and you do it yourself. But we need desperately to try and get more people to do that, because what will happen is the standards will just go up and up and up, and your competition will be more of a level playing field, and that's what we want. We want everyone in every single lane to have the same opportunity to do well at the workout. Joe will go into more of it. Myself and Ash are kind of just going to help out through today. What you'll notice on comp day, and we're stressed to bits, we've got so many other things to worry about that we can't deal with the judging things as well, and that's why we have Mason and Brett and Joe who help us out. So we want you guys to be comfortable with speaking to them, getting to know them. A lot of you will know them already, but it just works a lot better because myself and Ash just have so many other things to do that we're just going to be running around on comp day. So it's better for you guys to be able to speak to them direct. For Send Them In, for example, we put a big pack together of all the workouts, all the standards and stuff, and some people read it and got to the event and they were on it, they knew what to do. Others hadn't. I know sometimes it's a bit of a bore, like having to read stuff, and like, but you will have such a better day if you've already read the standards and then you listen to your brief, you're gonna feel confident. Whereas if you don't, you're gonna be in a bit of already on the back foot an event. I've done it before, I judged at a comp, and I couldn't be bothered to watch the video, and I got there and I didn't know what was going on. I presumed there'd be a brief, there wasn't. I got to workout one, got given a sheet, and I had no idea what was going on. Part of that was on them, part of that was on me as well. So it might come up again, but that was one big thing, was if we do put some info in that group, 5 minutes, helping with athlete standards in the qualifiers, just that 5 minutes it takes, just read it, just have a little watch of it or whatever it is.
Yeah guys, so basically what we're going to go over is just why we're holding everyone to the same standard. It's just going to make the competition a lot fairer as you go through. There's nothing worse than when you're competing with someone doing half a rep next year. It levels the playing field for everyone as we go through that. So just make sure you are strict when you're judging. So just not saying, that was close, let them have it. Just don't, because that one rep could be the difference between someone's placing on the scoreboard. So just be strict with it. If it's a no rep, don't count the no rep. Tell them why. So be brief with it, right? No rep, you're not deep enough. Don't count it, count the next one. If they don't hit the next one, tell them again until they do hit the standard. So it's not a difficult thing, like just making sure they do it and then just don't count their reps. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, making sure that they meet all the required standards, like Slaus was saying there. If you know what the movements are, read what the standards are for each one. Sometimes the standards might be different. So you might have done a comp where, say handstand walks, hands behind the line, hands on the line. Don't have to worry about that, you just have your feet behind the line. Read the standards for the comp you're doing, because they do change slightly. Being familiar with the workout and how it scores. So we do sometimes have issues with scorecards, like people writing the wrong scores, putting times or putting reps down when it is for time and so on like that. So just have a look at the scorecard. If you're unsure of it before it starts, find one of the head judges, just say, look, how is this going to score later on? And then if you're unsure when you've written it down, try and write both, the time, the reps, and then see someone after. Don't just go, yeah, it'll do. Because then the scorer's got an issue of trying to put it in, might put the scoring in wrong, and so on. Checking the scores, so make sure you do the right reps. Dan does a good job when he makes the scorecards of putting reps down the side, so it's easier to add up. So you're not having to stand there with your calculator as you go through. So just take an extra second or two, just double check, say, right, that many. If you're unsure, like I say, just ask someone. That's what we're all about for, just to help you make sure that score's right, because it does cause a lot of issues. having to chase down athletes, and then they're chasing down Slouse or Ash, trying to sort the scores out. Yeah. Another one, you're not there to cheer on or to coach people whilst you're judging. So if you're cheering someone on, it does get a bit hyped sometimes in the finals and so on. But if you're cheering someone on so much, you're not looking at what they're doing. Yeah. So just making sure they hit the standards is going to be the main thing for that. Be professional when you're out there as best you can. I don't want to see you just sat down next to them, shoes off next to you, just eating and drinking whilst you're judging someone. Just be a little bit professional. You get breaks throughout the day, that's when you can chill out. Yeah. Do see people just starting to get a little bit, especially as the day gets long, you want to have a little bit of a chill, sit down and watch them, but just be up, because you might have to move about for the event to be able to watch where they're at to get a better view of their movement. Okay. With that, be aware of your surroundings. Try not to be stood in other people's lanes, so they're going to have to push you out the way, drop barbells on your head and things like that. So just be aware of your surroundings. Gone over the no rep, check the scores. When the athletes come out, just introduce yourself to them. Try and build up a little bit of rapport. Just ask them, do you understand the workout? If you've got any issues with the workout that I need to know about. And then you can find out beforehand if they've got movement limitations. Like they might not be able to lock out, you might no rep them, might have a bit of an issue with their arm or something. Like you can find these things out in a few seconds before they come out and get onto the competition floor.
One thing on that we found a couple of times, and I've like put pressure on Mason and Brett before, like we need to speed it up, we need to speed it up. Sometimes athletes, they're nervous and they will just keep asking questions and they will want to test every movement, and sometimes you just have to say, this is what it is, you go to the start line, tell them to come with you, because they will just keep asking. And sometimes the more opportunity you give them to ask, the more messy it gets. You start second guessing yourself as well. They start asking these questions that you just baffled, but most of the time, if we just go 3, 2, 1, go, they'll just get on with it. But sometimes we give them too much chance to start like breaking things down, and it messes with your own head. So sometimes you've just got to be like a bit standoffish with them. Yeah,
sometimes the athletes will just try and like find like a little loophole. Oh, well, like, can I do it like this? Just tell them what the standard is. That's how you're doing it, and then it's fair for everyone. There is obviously little things people change and stuff, but as long as they're hitting the standard, then that's absolutely fine. And then, like I say, if your athlete isn't listening to you, if they've done a rep, you've told them no rep, but they're just carrying on, just get one of the head judges' attention, bring them over, and then we'll sort them out. We'll just make them go back and do the reps that they've missed or whatever they need to do. But does everyone feel fairly confident with judging and stuff like that? Because what we're going to do now is we're going to hopefully get a few of you to do a workout. We're going to break up into little teams. Someone's going to be doing a workout, someone's going to be judging, then we'll swap backwards and forwards. We'll go over things like some double unders and some difficult movements as well, just to make sure we're hitting those standards and you're able to judge fairly well. Any questions on that? Happy days.
Right then guys, so basically all we're going to do now is just go over a few of the movements that could come up that sometimes people have a bit of difficulty judging. There's a few things to look for with some of these, so just making sure that we're all on the same page, and like I say, some standards are always going to be different. Okay.
Standards of what we're going to look for in a sandbag clean is basically making sure we're stood fully up at the top. So if you clean the bag up, and then we're going to have one hand clearly comes off the sandbag, showing control at the top. Obviously, as people try and rush this, you'll see people just quickly whip the hand off and like just slap back into the bag. You don't want to see them just holding up in front with the hips closed. Yeah, make sure those hips are fully open before that hand comes off, and they've got control at the top of each rep.
Like how quick, it doesn't matter how quick they move the hand.
They've got to show control, so that isn't really control. The sandbag has to be settled, then the hand comes off. I don't know if, do we have a standard for where the hand has to go to, or? Yeah, clearly away from them. So this would, so would these count?
So like, no. Just hand out the side. Yeah.
So I've got to get my hand.
You can say like arm locked out.
Yeah. So we would have to decide on that standard. If this was in your morning briefing at an event, we would have to hold that standard to everyone though. Yeah. So for today, we'll go with the standard of lock arm out. Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say standards can change. So some events you might just have to have both hands on, stood at the top. Some you might have to have your hand out to the side. So we'll just always try and adapt yourself. Remember what the standards are. You'll get the briefing, you'll get a write-up sent out to you so you can read the movement standard list as well, okay? Another one, dumbbell goblet squats or overhead squats. See a lot of issue with people on these. So goblet squats, just going to be clearly held in front of your chest, okay? So things to look out for on this is just going to be your depth. So as we're going down, make sure those hips pass below the knee, and then when we're at the top, making sure you lock the hips and knees out as well. See a lot of people, when you start rushing through your squats, you're not going to open your hips properly. You want out. And they'll just keep those, they'll keep leaning forward slightly, so it's not a full rep. If they do that, tell them, so you're not standing up properly. Don't count it, make them do it again, count it when they do it, yeah? Same overhead squats, probably one for this. So dumbbell must be above the head. Elbow doesn't have to be locked out. Some people have issues when they're doing that, but same standard, hip crease below your knee, and then making sure we stand up at the top of the rep each time, yeah? Then we've got pull-ups. Seeing a good few issue with pull-ups. Pull-ups is your chin breaks the line of the bar, okay? Doesn't matter how high, if you're getting your chest up and your chin's all the way back here, if that chin's not above the bar, it's not a rep, okay? So we'll go over a few pull-ups. So whether it's kipping or butterfly, we're just going to make sure you've got chin above the bar, arms come to full extension right at the bottom. Same for that butterfly, pass through full extension of the arms, chin fully above the bar. Shit ones? Yeah, it'll be a struggle. So bad ones, that chin nowhere near getting over the bar, or you'll see people trying to get as close as they can to the bar. If you get up nice and close, if it doesn't look like it's over, tell them no, tell them to get higher, yeah? They should make it really clear for you. It's not your job to look for the rep, it's their job to do a very clear rep so you can count it a lot easier, yeah?
I think there's like, some of us at Darla were on about it the other day, is there's a new tendency with the butterfly pull-ups to lean back and get their chin in line with the bar. And I think the movement standard even from CrossFit is the chin has to clearly break the plane of the bar. And there's this new thing going around where people look great, they're knocking out big sets, but they're leaning back and the chin's back. And I think that's quite a big problem that's becoming more of a problem, so we need to kind of like snub it out, yeah. Can you demo that? Yeah, so it's the lean back, and you can see it's like beard's not above that bar, it's like in line with it.
Chin above the bar, not beard above the bar. For anyone with a longer beard. Just want you to have a little discussion about the handstand walk standard. So obviously you've seen it's generally hands behind the line, which people seem to really struggle with. You say start with both hands behind the line, they'll put their hands on the line, they'll start with one hand in front, or we could have hands on the line to start. So both hands must touch the line, so you can kick up with your fingers on, you just can't start past the line. Has anyone got, what do you think would be easier?
I would say.
Behind the line.
Do you think that's easier to judge than you can have your hands touch the line?
Yeah, because if you see on the line, simply with like as if your fingertips, as if your palm, like as if you see behind the line, it's just a clear line.
Like with the wall walks in the open, on that back line, any part of your hand can touch, so you could just get that second hand back to tap and go, it was clear. Whereas if you haven't have those hands behind the line, if you're not watching properly, it does make it sometimes a little bit trickier. But if you're all saying hands clearly over or behind the line to start, then that's easier, you can stick with that. Try not to judge your friends in every single heat, yeah? That's one thing you keep seeing, is like, right, I'm going to judge them this time with them, and I'm judging them again, Change it up. If you keep seeing you're judging the same people, we will move you around. You're not there to judge your friends, you're just there to judge. Make it fair. So keep an eye on that. Another one, guys, burpees over the box. Obviously standards can vary. So a couple of the standards that you generally see, obviously chest and thighs must hit the floor. These are just going to be burpees, so you can go lateral, you can go facing. We're not going to have a standard on that, but that sometimes will pop up and it's easy enough to judge. You can jump, both feet touch the top of the box, you can jump or step down, and then burpee back down. Other standards are going to be, you can step up as long again as both feet, both feet touch the box. What you're not wanting to see is just one foot touch the box as you go over. So you're not just stepping clearly over the box, okay? So it's a fairly simple standard. As long as you're looking for those 2 feet touching the top of the box, whether it's a jump, you should be able to tell the difference between a jump or not. Sometimes as well, standards might change. Like in the CrossFit Open, you don't need to do a 2 foot takeoff. do a non-2-foot takeoff. And then step down and so on. So like, just like a little hop, step, jump up, but as long as 2 feet touch the top of the box, it's a fairly simple one to judge on the burpee box overs, yeah?
I think the biggest thing what people get wrong is that remember to burpee box jump over, so you don't count it until the feet touch the other side. You don't count them on the box or when they just do a burpee, you count them when they get the other side. So when we did like that workout where you had to do 15, you're always going to finish on the other side of where you started, because obviously this would be even. So this is 0, 2, 4, 6, and then obviously that's all the odd numbers. Just always be aware that the athlete then knows that they're finishing always on the other side of the box. Unless they get no reps, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Guys, if you're counting squats, the squat doesn't end at the bottom. I've been in a few comps where I'm getting counted at the bottom, so I've stood up at 10, put the bar down, I was like, no, you got one more. You said 10. Like, you don't count at the bottom, you've got to stand it up first, finish the rep, then count the rep.
Today, sometimes you will end up in a pair. If you're standing like this, going 1, 2, 3, 4, and your partner's doing the same thing out loud, you will completely lose track as to where you've got to. So try and segregate yourselves up a little bit so you can see from different angles. And the other thing, this on that eye level is much easier to count than trying to stand up and watch the entire person. It doesn't matter what they're doing up here. They can be having their arms up here and spinning the ropes around, it makes no difference. As long as it's passing under twice if you're counting your doubles and once if you're counting singles, it doesn't matter. So focus on what's happening on the feet. It's much easier than trying to watch the whole person jumping up and down.
Yeah, agreed. I think most people were doing that though. When I'm watching you all there, whether you were stood up or you were on your knees, you were all watching the feet.
It'll creep in more and more, I think. Ash is going to tell you how he would count them.
Yeah, so like if I was just going to count someone in the open or whatever, for me personally, I'm like there, and I'm just, every 10 I'm just like that. So then they can then see you as you kind of count your 10 every single time. But again, we don't want to be, you're not there to count 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. It just needs that. That there can obviously be a good indication for the athlete, because they can kind of just see your things and see that you're actually going for that as well, alright? But we don't need to be, if they ask you how many dubs is left there, you just need to tell them what they're on. Because then people then get muddled up, well, what's 10 minus that minus? Just tell them you're on 58, so that you're not telling them you've got like 12 to go, for example. Do you know what I mean? So try and do it this way, where you count every 10. I've seen a few people, to be fair, used to do that, which is good. But if they ask you, then you see you're on that number. Yeah, that's it.
Like, you don't have to do it, we're just saying this is more ways to try and like improve your counting and your feedback.
When people are finishing what they consider to be their last rep, and they're dropping down and then legging it back, if that wasn't a rep, chase after them, take them all the way back to the rig and make them do it again. That's their time they're wasting. It's nothing to do with you. It's not your problem. If they only hear the call of a no rep and they drop down and they run off, that's their problem. Again. Don't be scared to do that. I know it's really difficult when you've got somebody really hyped up, running away from you in the opposite direction, and you've got to chase after them. But just, you're there to hold the same standard to every single person that comes there, whether it be third rep or last rep.
And on that, be loud. So if you're being quiet, like, oh, no rep. They don't hear you, you didn't say it, I did, but just not loud enough. Be loud enough so they can hear you, get in their face so they can see that you're talking to them. Okay, so if you stood behind you like, no rep, they're not going to know if that's you saying that or the person next to them. So make sure it's clear that it's you telling them that it's a no rep, otherwise they will just leg it.
The thing I noticed in that as well is being aware of people who you're not judging, because there was a couple of times when I was trying to get in a good position to judge the athlete I was judging, that I nearly got in the way of someone else who was kipping next to me.
When I tricked on the double unders, the judge was good. He stepped in and told me what I was on.
Yeah.
So that was good.
You're at the sports village, it's company. You've kind of had your judges briefing. Some of you know everything that's going on. Some of you are thinking, shit, I don't know what's happening. Then the athletes get briefed. This is the point that, like, not digging anyone out, but sometimes you have your brief, and then, like, obviously you want to get coffees, you want to, like, meet and see people. Listening to the athlete brief is going to get it logged in your head, and it might answer some of those questions that you've got going on. Okay, so always try and listen to the athlete brief after you've had your judge brief. So I would normally talk about all that stuff, welcome, all that crap, and then we would go, Mason and Brett would then tell them what the workout is, and then Ash and Joe are going to demo the movements.
Hi there, we're at the CrossFit Telic.
We are there.